With the return of the Dust Bowl, we're also getting something slightly terrifying, and that is fungal storms. These spores are perfectly happy to live in the soil, usually eating decaying matter, but if they end up inside of your lungs, you kinda count as decaying matter. The one you might be familiar with is valley fever. It usually impacts people on the West Coast from Southern California into Texas and New Mexico. That one can cause a chronic infection and require years of treatment and maybe even move into your bones or brain. It's possible you may never be free of it. Worse than that, because we use so many fungicides, they're now becoming resistant to all of our treatment. Now, the stuff we might put in a field is usually a little bit harsher than stuff we would use as a medical treatment. However, if they become resistant to the harsher chemicals, they're not going to be very easy to get rid of in us. Now, ones like aspergillus, which yes, also can spread from dust storms, those ones can have a 40 to 80% mortality rate if you actually get an infection. It's likely that most people never know that they come in contact with it, and their immune system was able to fight it off, but if it takes hold, it can be very difficult to get rid of, and very bad. Now, if you're asking yourself, how in the world does this happen? I mean, this mostly affects pretty dry climates. Well, fungi doesn't like to stay in the same place. They're able to proliferate when there's a lot of rainfall and when it's warm out. And then, once it becomes dry and hot, they end up turning into a spore form, and those spore forms need to go somewhere. It's kind of part of their life cycle to move around if at all possible. So having a big upheaval like a storm is really a great opportunity for them to move. Unfortunately, as they're carried along with all of that dust, they might end up inside of you. These are also not the only pathogenic fungi that I'm concerned about. I've mentioned it before, but Candida auris, which is a candida skin infection, which is very lethal, is also spreading across the world, and I've been thinking about that for a few years. Fungi is very difficult to treat, and part of that is because they're reasonably closely related to us, more so than plants or bacteria, so we share a lot of the same hardware. So it's difficult to find a target for fungi that won't also have side effects in us. Aside from that, it needs to be able to be processed by the liver and kidneys. Yeah, not great. It's also fairly slow growing, and they tend to cordon themselves off, so your immune system cannot get to them. I'm not kidding, they're very hardy. I've tried gamma irradiating soil for my research, and there's just always fungi in it. I don't know how, but they seem to just survive. Now I know what you're thinking. Did people suffer from the same stuff during the Dust Bowl? Why don't we hear about it? I mean, the numbers might be climbing right now, but we just don't read about reports of valley fever. The answer is yes, they very likely did, but we didn't exactly have the best bookkeeping back then, but we find evidence of these as well as other interesting Dust Bowl things you can get. Now, it's important to note, we never fixed the Dust Bowl. We didn't suddenly get better environmental practices, it just started raining more, the climate had changed, and now it's changing again. All that rain we're getting on the West Coast, interspersed with incredibly dry summers, is going to make this situation worse. Now, we do see some increased instances of, say, bacterial meningitis, but there is evidence that measles can be transported on the dust. I really would not have expected that. Viruses, don't have a metabolism. They don't usually tend to be all that hardy, but yes, it seems it can rain down. Important to note that you will see an increase in things like respiratory viruses, as well as other stuff like bacterial meningitis when you have dust storms, just by virtue of the fact that you are now being damaged from the inside out. Yes, when your respiratory system is under stress, it puts your entire body at stress, and if you get something like bacterial pneumonia, you are now going to be more vulnerable to other things that could be made far worse if everyone is inside in close quarters. I like that somebody grew valley fever on an agar plate. I do not have the courage to want to do that, nor the desire. So, are sand and dust storms becoming more common across the US? The answer seems to be yes. And are fungal illnesses becoming more common? The answer seems to be also yes. Is there anything that you can do to protect yourself? There's not really a lot. You can try to prevent yourself from inhaling the dust. You can wear a face mask, but fungus is everywhere, and it gets everywhere. So yeah, air purifiers might help inside of your home too. Have fun, good luck, don't die.